Heartwarming 6-year-old girl with broken leg drags starving brother 2 miles. Millionaire's life-changing moment awaits. Lily gritted her teeth as she hoisted her little body across town. The weight of her broken leg throbbed against her determination, but she wouldn't let it slow her down. Her older brother Jake paced beside her. With each painstaking crawl, they became a pair battling against a world that echoed with both despair and urgency. In their small town, filled with shuttered windows and faded hopes, they were more than just siblings, they were warriors for their family. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows as hunger gnawed at their empty bellies. Lily glanced at her brother, his worried expression tugging at her heartstrings. "We have to go, Jake. We'll get food. I promise." She flashed a brave smile, even as the pain in her leg threatened to steal it away. She was all he had, and Jake's eyes flickered with hope as they started their journey, hearts pounding like drums. As they passed through the streets, judgmental stares followed them like shadows. Whispers hanging in the air felt like daggers to Lily's spirit. "Look at them," a woman murmured, her tone slick with scorn. "Just a couple of kids. So sad." But Lily didn't hear them. Instead, she fixed her gaze ahead, determination blinking bright in her eyes. If they could just reach the community center, each agonizing inch felt monumental. Jake constantly checked in on her, worry etched on his brow. But Lily just giggled. "It's an adventure, like pirates, and we're searching for treasure." Her laughter was pure and bright, a beacon of resilience even when the world seemed so dreary. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The distance was relentless, but Lily's spirit lit a fire in Jake. As they turned the final corner, the community center loomed ahead, a saving grace. To him, it was a haven of hope. But as they approached, their hearts sank at the sight of the long line. Stomach knots tightened as they shuffled into place, Lily dragging her leg. Yet, this made them feel part of something bigger. They were not just surviving, they were taking action. Suddenly, a sharply dressed man, a local millionaire known for his indifference, spotted them. His brow furrowed as he watched Lily suffer, her brother so lovingly supporting her. Something cracked open in him. A stirring of unease began to bubble beneath his well-polished exterior. Their determination to fight against the odds met him at his wealth-laden doorstep. But just as their immediate needs seemed within reach, a hurdle loomed over the siblings. Would the millionaire leverage his privilege to create real change, or would he retreat into the anonymity of a comfortable life, leaving Lily and Jake to fend for themselves again? The hunger, both physical and emotional, surged in the air as they stood on the edge of uncertainty. Hope flickered dimly, but continued to blaze brightly within the two young souls. This was just the beginning, and they would face whatever came next with courage and love that could not be crushed. The line shuffled forward, and Jake kept a steady hand on his sister's shoulder. They could see the entrance of the community center just a few feet away. Each step felt sacred, like they were crossing a threshold into a world where hope could find them. But a pang of doubt washed over Jake as he watched other families shuffling with their children. Could they really be safe today? Lily leaned slightly against Jake, fatigue starting to seep into her bones. "Are we there yet?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He felt her body tremble, a mix of weariness and anticipation. He squeezed her hand tighter. "Almost, Lily, just hold on a bit longer," he assured her. Next to them, a mother tried to calm her own crying toddler. "Just a little longer, sweetie," she pleaded, her voice shaking as desperation flared in her eyes. Jake recognized that exhaustion, he felt it too. But then he looked down at Lily, her little face set with determination despite the pain. The way she smiled through it all was nothing short of heroic. It ignited a flame in him. Behind them, the millionaire stood still, His perfectly tailored suit felt so out of place in this gritty moment. He was a man who had everything, yet here he was, frozen, witnessing the struggle of two children. The crowd chatted and shuffled ahead, oblivious to his inner turmoil. Despite his wealth, he felt a sharp sense of emptiness. For the first time, money couldn't shield him from reality, he thought. He reached into his pocket instinctively, feeling the cold texture of his wallet. How many meals could he buy with what was in there? Did he really need that new car, or the expensive dinner? Suddenly, he felt nauseous at the thought that his wealth had turned him blind to suffering so close to home. As the siblings neared the food distribution table, the scene unfolded before them like a fragile hope. Volunteers served hot meals with smiles that melted into heartfelt encouragement. The mixture of scents, the rich aroma of stews, and the sweet scent of freshly baked bread wafted through the air. It was a comfort that made Jake's stomach churn with longing. "Just a little longer, Lily," he whispered, kneeling down to meet her eye level. "We'll eat soon." Lily nodded but couldn't hide her exhaustion any longer. Her eyelids fluttered, and she leaned heavily against Jake.
I'm tired. Can we sit?
She asked softly, her small voice breaking his heart. He glanced back toward the $1 million man. "Please," Jake thought silently, willing him to step forward, to act, to do something extraordinary. Just then, the man stepped back, his resolve setting. He had to do something, anything that could change the fate of these children. An idea sparked in his mind. But just as he approached, an unexpected blast of shouting broke through the crowd.
"Hey!"
"No cutting in line," a man in the back shouted. Anxiety rippled as eyes darted to the millionaire, confusion thrown into the mixture. Lily squeezed her brother's hand tightly, further emboldening Jake's voice to rise above the noise. "We need help. We've been walking for so long." That desperate plea echoed, an anchor. Hope hung in the air, but would it be enough to transform this moment? The crowd shifted. Eyes turned, challenging the millionaire's resolve. No longer could he be just an observer. He needed to act. With his entire heart racing, he stepped forward. Would he rise to the occasion? What would he decide to do next? The atmosphere crackled with tension as the millionaire hesitated just a moment longer. The shouts from the crowd surged like a powerful tide, swirling around him as the boy's plea resonated in his chest. He took a deep breath, the air sharp and tinged with the scent of food that he had taken for granted all his life. The sight of the frail girl leaning against her brother, exhaustion etched across her small face, pulled at something deep within him. They were just children, the weight of the world resting heavily on their young shoulders. Jake was fierce, but he was also scared. That was evident in his wide eyes and trembling stance. He had to do something, anything to help. With each step the millionaire took forward, the faces of the crowd morphed, uncertainty turning into a mix of curiosity and hope. What would he do? The murmurs flitted through the air, a whispering wind of speculation. He felt their eyes on him, bore the collective anxiety of their lives like a heavy shroud. "Excuse me," he finally called out, raising his hands for attention. The noise quickly dissipated, taken aback by the insertion of this impeccably dressed stranger into their painful reality. I can help." Jake blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift in the millionaire's stance. He wasn't sure what this man was capable of or what his offer entailed. "Please, just help them," a voice shouted from the back, prompting others to echo their agreement. The $1 million man met Jake's earnest gaze. "Can we get her a chair? Maybe something to eat?" he proposed, his voice steadier than he felt. Lily's eyes widened, a flicker of hope igniting within them. "Really?" she asked, her soft voice quaking with disbelief. "Yes," the man replied. "I promise. Just let me help." A nearby volunteer rushed over, her apron stained but her smile bright. "This way, sir. We have chairs set up for those who need them." The millionaire nodded, motioning Jake and Lily to follow. The siblings shared a glimpse at one another, uncertainty mingled with the glimmer of hope. They moved together, Lily leaning more heavily on Jake as fatigue encased her. As they reached the makeshift seating area, The millionaire gestured toward two of the chairs. Here you go, he offered, gently urging them to sit. Jake helped Lily settle in, glancing up occasionally at this unexpected ally, searching for any signs of deceit. He wasn't sure what this man, with his empty gaze, was looking for. But in this moment of vulnerability, he was just here. Within minutes, plates filled with steaming food appeared before them, gifted with genuine smiles from the volunteers. Suddenly, Jake felt a lump in his throat. The smell of warm stew mixed with grilled cheese enveloped him, and he became acutely aware of his own hunger. The warmth radiating from the meals ignited a need he thought had dulled. Thank you, he said softly, making eye contact with the millionaire. It was a simple acknowledgement, yet it held all the weight of the world. But as they sat there, enjoying their first real meal in days, the millionaire could feel a jolt of awakening inside him. This act, small, yet monumental, began to unravel him in ways he hadn't anticipated. He was no longer just observing. He was part of something bigger. Suddenly, a faint whimper broke through their bubble of newfound comfort. A lonely little boy stood a few feet away, empty-eyed and ragged. The millionaire's heart ached at the sight. Jake noticed too, his eyes darting between the new child in need and the delicious meal before him. Should we share? Jake whispered, a flicker of compassion igniting in his young heart. The millionaire looked at his plate, then at Jake, who at that moment seemed wiser than his years. Sharing could mean everything. Would this be the moment that transformed them all? The millionaire's heart raced as he gazed from his plate to the little boy standing alone. Fear and hunger danced in the boy's eyes, and it felt as if the world around them paused for just a moment. The decision hung heavy in the air. Could he really take a bite from his meal and offer it to someone who looked so overwhelmingly lost? Yeah, Jake said, his voice steadying. He looks like he could use it more than we do. The millionaire nodded, biting his lip as he set his fork down. It was one act, one tiny offering, but the weight of it felt monumental. He found himself sliding the plate closer to the boy, who hadn't moved an inch, rooted in confusion and hunger. Hey there, he called gently, trying to infuse warmth into his words. Want some food? The boy squinted, hesitant.
But why?
His voice was barely above a whisper, full of suspicion and pain. Because we can share, the millionaire replied, feeling something shift within him, something he had lost long ago. Cautiously, the boy approached, inching closer to the table as if unsure if he dared to accept the kindness. Jake smiled and nodded at him, an innocent glimmer of hope in his bright eyes. It's good, he promised, his enthusiasm infectious. The little boy hesitated for another moment, before reaching out a small, thin hand. Okay, the millionaire lifted the plate, offering half of what remained. As the boy's hands wrapped around it, it felt like a spark ignited in the air. Their eyes met, and in that exchange, brokenness met compassion, trust met understanding. The boy's face lit up, and for a fleeting moment, the burden he carried seemed to lift. The ripple effect soon touched those around them. Even in a crowd, their small act of kindness was enough to cause murmurs of approval. This wasn't just about food, this was about connection. Suddenly, a hand tapped on the millionaire's shoulder. He turned to see a young woman, her eyes bright and grateful. Thank you for doing that. You've no idea what it means to them. He swallowed hard, feeling a swell of emotion. I'm just starting to understand. As they finished the meal, laughter danced between the siblings, the little boy included, as they swapped stories, sharing bits of joy amidst the struggles that had woven them together. The millionaire watched, his own heart softening as he embraced this moment as something sacred. But just as the laughter rose, a loud commotion echoed from the far corner of the gathering. A different group of children had erupted in anger, their voices rising over one another, fueled by jealousy and hunger. The sight sent an electric jolt through his chest, the reality of their world crashing down again. What is happening? Jake asked, eyes wide. Concern mingled with confusion. The millionaire stood up, his heart pounding once more. He realized it was not just about them, it couldn't be. They needed to help more people. We need to find out, he said, raising his chin defiantly, determination blooming within him. As he approached the tension, he could feel all eyes on him again. What did they want from him? Could he bridge the gap and diffuse the anger? He didn't know if he was ready, but he did know one thing. There was a growing urgency in him. It was time to confront the shadows lurking in this world, to face the reality he'd kept at arm's length for too long. Would he have the courage to truly change something? Or would he stumble into the chaos he was beginning to sense? The millionaire stepped forward, his chest tight with apprehension. The shouts grew louder, a chaotic mix of frustration and desperation that clawed at his heart. He could see a group of older kids crowding around two younger ones, fists clenched and faces flushed as they shoved each other. The air was thick with tension, like the moment just before a storm breaks.
Hey,
He called out, his voice cutting through the noise. The crowd turned their eyes toward him, curiosity piqued at the sight of the well-dressed stranger. Jake shifted beside him, his little hand reaching for his father's. "What do we do, Dad?" His voice was small, but there was a weight of concern in every word. "We talk," the millionaire replied, steadying himself. He stepped closer, trying to display openness rather than fear. "Let's find out what's going on." He could see the faces now, twisted in anger but shadowed by something deeper: fear, hunger, need. One boy, his arms crossed defiantly, had tears threatening to spill over his cheeks. Another small girl stood behind him, biting her lip, eyeing the overflowing trash bins nearby. "What is going on here?" the millionaire asked, kneeling to meet the boy's eye level. "Why are you fighting?" The boy's glare softened slightly, but resolve still lined his jaw. "We're hungry," he shouted, spitting the words out like they were poison. "There's never enough food. And they took it all." "All of it?" the millionaire pressed, looking around. He noticed discarded wrappers and empty containers scattered about, reminders of meals long gone. "They always take it." The girl in the back chimed in, her voice barely above a whisper, but filled with conviction. The millionaire felt the ground shift beneath him. Anger and frustration rose within as he recognized that this was not merely a gathering, it was a community struggling against an impossible tide. He glanced back at Jake, who was watching wide-eyed, still clutching his father's hand. "We can fix this," he said, firm and clear. "If we all work together." Sharing isn't just about food, it's about looking out for one another. A quiet fell over the group as he spoke, uncertainty painted on their faces. But slowly, he saw something shift, a flicker of hope. He continued, "I want to help. What if we all come together to find something to eat? I have some ideas." The older boy softened, skepticism giving way to a tentative curiosity. "Like what?" "Let us put our heads together. I'd like to hear what you all think we should do. Maybe we can start a little community garden? Or organize a food drive." Jake's eyes sparkled.
yeah,
"We can plant seeds and grow stuff." The little boy who had been glaring hesitated, but then nodded, intrigued. "I bet we could do that." The tense atmosphere began to melt. The group slowly started to talk amongst themselves, their voices lower, less shrill. The millionaire could feel something building in energy. Could it be that, even in the darkest of times, hope bloomed? He caught sight of the little boy he had shared his meal with earlier, now smiling shyly from behind a tree, joining in the conversation about planting. His heart swelled, but then, like a shadow creeping back, the nagging thought slithered in. Were these ideas enough to tackle the enormity of the hunger and chaos surrounding them? As the discussions continued, his mind raced. He wanted to do more, to make a bigger impact. But just as the buzz of hope began to fill the air, the sense of urgency pressed back down, a reminder that this was just the beginning. He couldn't ignore the greater battle lying ahead. Suddenly, a piercing, terrified scream echoed through the gathering. A child had fallen, a misplaced foot sending them tumbling and scraping against the hard ground. The millionaire's heart dropped. Would their small moment of progress be overshadowed by this new crisis? He rushed towards the commotion, adrenaline spiking. What would happen next? Would he be able to save this moment of connection they had just built from falling apart? The millionaire reached the fallen child in a flash, pushing through the crowd that now encircled the scene like a protective barrier. He knelt beside the small girl, who was nestled on the ground, her cries piercing the air and breaking the fragile moment they had been weaving together. "I'm okay," she hiccuped through her tears, though the way she clutched her leg suggested otherwise. The unmistakable fear in her eyes cut through him like a knife. He could see the dirt smudged on her face, but her spirit shone bright despite her pain. "Hey there, can you tell me your name?" he asked gently, his voice soft but firm. "Lily," she sniffed, her eyes darting to her brother, who stood nearby, his face twisted with concern. The millionaire glanced at him, and the urgency in the boy's expression made him stand taller. "Okay, Lily. We're going to take care of you," he promised, looking around for any adults in the crowd. The lack of help reminded him of the deep-rooted issue they were all confronting together. Jake, watching from his father's side, took a step forward, his little face serious. "I can help too," he exclaimed, wanting to contribute. The millionaire saw a spark of courage in his son, even in this overwhelming moment. "I need you to be my helper, Jake. Can you find me something soft for Lily's leg?" Jake nodded, darting off to rummage through bags and ask nearby kids if they had anything they could spare. Meanwhile, the millionaire focused on Lily. "Does it hurt much?" She shook her head but winced, her breaths hitching. "I just want to go home." He felt the weight of her words. Home, a safe place, something he had taken for granted. "We'll get you home, I promise," he said, patting her shoulder gently. Images of Jake's happy giggles and their shared family dinners flooded his mind, each memory intensifying the ache in his chest. Moments passed that felt like an eternity when Jake returned, holding a jacket.
"Here, Dad. Perfect, buddy."
The millionaire folded the jacket, placing it carefully under Lily's hurt leg to alleviate some pressure. "Just for a moment, Lily. I'm going to lift you, okay? You're going to feel a little bump, but I promise to be gentle." With careful hands, he scooped her up, cradling her against his chest. Impulsively, Lily's arms wrapped around his neck. Her small frame pressed against him felt fragile, yet filled with unyielding spirit. The crowd shifted as he stood, quietly parting for him. The whispers started words of concern, admiration, and a shared realization that change was already in motion. As he walked, the millionaire felt the warmth of the community enveloping him, yet he couldn't escape the swirl of emotions inside. How could he start fixing things on a grander scale? Was this moment of connection enough, or would they just revert back to chaos? "Where will we go?" Lily asked, her tiny voice trembling but curious now, looking up at him with trust. "To find food and help for everyone," he said, his determination solidifying. With each step, he felt the burden of responsibility anchoring him but also igniting a fire in his heart. He needed to act not just out of concern for this little girl or the crowd witnessing his promise, but for the countless others who weren't there yet, who faced hunger and pain every day. He could feel eyes on him, the weight of all their hopes pressed on his shoulders. Would he succeed? Could he gather not just food but also a community? Outside, the warm sun began to set, casting golden rays across the dilapidated playground, illuminating the way forward. Would they find the strength to build something real together? Or would fear and hopelessness silence their voices once more? This challenge before him was just a taste of the storm still brewing. He couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was yet to come. The millionaire continued to hold Lily close as he navigated through the crowd, his heart racing with every step. He could feel a shift in the air. The whispers turned into nods of recognition, as if the people were absorbing his commitment to make a difference. "Will my leg be okay?" Lily asked, her voice laced with uncertainty. "Absolutely," he said, forcing a comforting smile, despite feeling the weight of doubt pressing down on himself. He glanced around, catching sight of Jake, who was moving quickly, gathering whatever he could find, an act so simple yet so profound. His son's determination filled the millionaire with pride and a sense of purpose. They reached the edge of the park, where a food truck sat, its painted exterior melting in the golden light. It wasn't much, but it was a start. A handful of volunteers worked busily to serve families in need. Easier smiles surfaced as they saw him approaching with Lily. "Got a little one who needs some help," the millionaire called out. The staff immediately turned their attention, rushing over with concern. "Let us get her seated," the volunteer said gently, and before the millionaire could even respond, they whisked Lily away, ensuring her comfort. The millionaire stood back, heart swelling with gratitude as he watched them work. For a moment, it was as if he could see the threads of hope weaving into the community. Jake, bouncing back with excitement, tugged on his dad's shirt.
"Can I help too?"
he asked, eyes twinkling with eagerness. "Of course. What do you want to do?" "Let us give out food," Jake exclaimed. His enthusiasm was contagious, and the millionaire felt a renewed sense of energy. "Okay, let us do it together." They both joined the volunteers, handing out the warm meals to families who lined up. The smiles, the laughter, and the thank yous swept through him like a wave. Each interaction filled him with warmth, reminding him of the raw human connection that had been overshadowed by his past life of luxury. As they continued, the millionaire noticed a little boy clutching his stomach, his face pale and worn. Without hesitation, he approached. "Hey buddy, are you okay?" The boy looked up with teary eyes. "I'm hungry." The millionaire knelt down, meeting the child's gaze. "I'm going to fix that right now." He took a quick look back at the food truck, then handed him a sandwich and a juice box. "Here you go. You're going to feel a lot better after this." The boy's face lit up, a smile breaking through with a sparkle of hope. The image sparked a fire of realization in the millionaire's heart. This wasn't just about helping today. It was about breaking the cycle, creating a bridge for future generations. As dusk settled, the crowd began dispersing, families leaving with bags of food and pockets filled with newfound warmth. He caught sight of Lily again, sitting comfortably with her brother by the food truck, their faces bright even amidst their circumstances. "Is your leg feeling better, Lily?" he asked, lowering himself so he could see her eyes. "Yes. And my brother got a sandwich," she chirped back, pride spilling over in her joy.
"Good.
"You both deserve it," he replied. But just as he was about to turn back to the volunteers, a commotion erupted from a nearby alleyway. Shouts filled the air, drawing every gaze towards the source. A sense of unease rippled through the crowd. "What is happening?" Jake asked, squeezing his dad's hand tightly. "I don't know, but we need to find out," the millionaire replied, resolve hardening within him. He had just begun to understand the complexities of this community, and it was clear there were many layers yet to peel back. With fear now dancing alongside determination, he headed toward the cries. What awaited him beyond the shadows could shift everything he thought he knew. Was he prepared for the truth, or would it unravel all he'd just begun to build? As the millionaire stepped closer to the alley, he could feel the energy crackling in the air. Voices filled with anger and fear echoed off the walls, cutting through the cool evening air. Jake clung to his side, eyes wide, scanning for any sign of danger. Panic surged within the millionaire, but he pushed it down, focusing instead on the instinct to protect his son. As they turned the corner, a chaotic scene unfolded before them. A group of teenagers stood at the mouth of the alley, shouting. Their faces were set in angry expressions, and the millionaire sensed an unspoken tension. On the ground, a figure lay curled up, protectively shielding himself, a boy no older than Jake. He looked terrified, his clothes torn and dirty. "What's going on?" the millionaire shouted, his voice firm and steady. He knew whatever was happening here needed to stop. The crowd behind him grew, murmuring among themselves. This was their community, their lives. "Nothing, just keep walking," one of the teenagers barked, his bravado undermined by the uncertainty that flickered in his eyes. "Look," the millionaire said, lowering his voice to a softer pitch, "that kid needs help. We can't just walk away. We have to do something." His heart raced as he felt the weight of the moment. He couldn't back down now, not after everything he'd just started to gain. Another teenager stepped forward, crossing his arms defiantly. "You know nothing about us. You think you can just come in here and play hero?" "I'm not playing anything," the millionaire replied, meeting the boy's gaze. "But I do know that this isn't how we treat each other. We can make things better." The tensions thickened, and he sensed the air grow heavier. Moments passed like hours, and just as he feared things would escalate further, the boy on the ground rose slowly, his eyes wild with fear yet searching for clarity. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and the millionaire saw fear morph into something else: curiosity, maybe even hope. Suddenly, Jake stepped forward, breaking the fragile tension.
Hey,
He shouted, his young voice unwavering. Why are you being mean to him? You should help. All eyes turned to Jake, the youngest voice cutting through the noise like a beacon. The millionaire felt a swell of pride explode in his chest. Here was his son, embodying the very spirit of compassion he wished to inspire. What do you know about it? Sneered one of the teens, though his bravado began to wane in the wake of Jake's innocence. I know we should help, Jake insisted, unwavering. I helped Lily. We can all help him too. The unexpected plea from his son hung in the air. A flicker of uncertainty crossed the faces of the older teens. They had begun their evening full of bravado, but as the reality of the situation settled, doubt seeped in. The millionaire faced the group, his voice rising above the din. Let us show him the kindness we can give. Let us be a part of something better, right here, right now. A silence fell as the teens exchanged glances. Something was shifting. The walls of anger started to crack. Yet, before the atmosphere could fully change, another shout erupted from deeper within the alley. This isn't over. A figure loomed behind the teenagers, his presence dark and filled with menace. Fear rippled through the crowd again, and a collective gasp resonated with palpable tension. Make a choice, the millionaire thought, adrenaline surging through him. He needed to stand firm, now more than ever. What was about to unfold could define everything: an opportunity to change lives or a moment that would plunge them back into chaos. The decision weighed heavily, and the sound of his heart pounding filled his ears. Could they really come together to protect what's right? The darkness loomed, and the stakes had never been higher. As he looked at Jake, whose small hands were still steady in his grip, he wondered, could they unite this fractured community, or would fear reign? The figure emerging from the shadows moved with a menacing grace, confidence spilling from him like venom. He wore a leather jacket, and his eyes glimmered with danger, calculated and cold. The energy shifted again, tightening the already fraught atmosphere like a coiled spring. Back off. This is our territory, he snarled, and the crowd instinctively took a step back as some of the teenagers began to shift uneasily. The tension in the air grew, so thick it could have been sliced with a knife. Listen, the millionaire called out, his voice steadying itself amid the chaos. What's happening here isn't right, but it doesn't have to end in violence. He gestured to the boy on the ground, who had found the courage to sit up, his eyes darting nervously between the two groups. Who do you think you are? The new figure stepped closer, eyes locked on the millionaire. Some rich guy trying to save the day? Jake squeezed his father's hand tighter, fear mixing with a fiery determination. No, he's trying to help. The millionaire turned to Jake, inwardly wrestling with the urge to keep his son safe, while also wanting to show him the power of conviction. It's okay, buddy, he whispered, attempting to calm the storm brewing within. But his heart thundered at the prospect of a confrontation. What do you know about helping? The older boy shot back, glaring at Jake while brandishing his authority. You don't know anything. Jake inhaled deeply, his little face set with resolve. It doesn't matter how old I am. Everyone deserves help and kindness. We can't just hurt each other. Those words hung in the air, almost tangible. The crowd was silent, uncertainty inching across their faces. The millionaire could see the smallest flickers of awareness beginning to pebble the horizon of some hearts. Maybe we should just hear him out, one of the teenagers faltered, glancing at the boy on the ground, broken yet resilient. The doubt continued to spread like a web tightening around their bravado. Shut up. The figure barked, his bravado cracking. You're just a bunch of kids playing at being good. You don't understand. I understand what it's like to be scared and alone, Jake replied, his voice unwavering. But we have to help each other in that instant. The millionaire felt as if the world had paused around them. Was this young boy's innocence and bravery tipping the balance? Could the very essence of childhood compassion break through the barriers built by fear and anger?
Stop.
The millionaire shouted, stepping forward. If we let fear dictate our actions, we'll only lead ourselves into darkness. But if we embrace kindness, we can find light together. We're not so different from one another. The figure hesitated, flickering doubt crossing his hardened features. The crowd waited, breaths held as they swayed between the duality of violence and peace. Suddenly, the boy on the ground took a deep breath, staring at each face turn and change. Please, I just want to go home. As the gravity of those words settled, a shift occurred, like a dawning realization skimming across the faces around them. Just then, a siren echoed in the distance, a distant warning that drew nearer. Make a choice, the millionaire thought again, struggling to hold onto this moment. But before they could find grounding, the figure in the leather jacket straightened, his expression unreadable. Fine, he spat, his tone laden with contempt and astonishment. But this isn't over. With one last glance at the others, he turned and vanished into the shadows. Relief surged through the crowd, but tension still hung heavy in the air. The millionaire looked at Jake, whose innocence shone bright despite the uncertainty that remained. What just happened? Jake asked, eyes wide. His voice trembled at the edges, excitement mixed with fear still lingering. I think, the millionaire started. We began to find our way. But as they turned to leave, a harsh laugh echoed from the depths of the alley, chilling their hopes. You think this is over? We're just getting started. As they stepped back into the light, the millionaire couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was only the beginning. What would they face next in their journey to change this community? And could they truly make a stand against the darkness? The sun dipped beyond the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, as the aftermath of the confrontation lingered solidly in the air. Hearts beat faster, uncertainty swirling around the crowd like fallen leaves in a restless wind. The millionaire could feel the palpable tension around him, the glares of disbelief, mixed with silent threats that echoed off the walls of the alley. Jake squeezed his father's hand tightly, his innocent face a mixture of confusion and worry. What happens now, Dad? He asked, his voice small, yet fierce. The millionaire knelt beside him, ruffling his hair, the way he did when Jake was young. Now we regroup, son, he said, lifting his gaze to meet the eyes of those gathered around them. We can't let fear win. We have to stand together. Lily, who had quietly watched the entire scene unfold, tugged at her brother's sleeve. With weary eyes, she offered, but what if they come back? What if they're really angry? Her voice trembled like a fragile leaf caught in the wind. Jake's resolve hardened. Then we will be ready. We'll show them that they can't bully us, he proclaimed, unusually brave for such a tender heart. The millionaire stood, feeling an unexpected swell of admiration for his son and the courage of those around them. He turned to the crowd, his voice steady and loud enough for all to hear. We're not just a collection of individuals looking out for our own. We are a community, and as a community, we need to take care of one another. We need each other more than ever. The murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, hope threading its way into their hearts. Others nodded, stepping forward from the shadows, carrying a shared desire to stand against what threatened their unity. A volunteer stepped forward, taking the initiative. We can set up a meeting. A place where everyone can come together. We can talk about building more resources, more food, and creating a safe environment. Her eyes glimmered with determination, her spirit infectious. Exactly, the millionaire added, a fire igniting inside him. We need to connect, share our skills, and build programs that can help everyone in need, including those who feel alone and fearful. Together, we can create change. In that moment, it became clear that the millionaire's fight wasn't just to help the children and families before him. It was a fight for a transformation that would resonate beyond the walls. They were not just faces in a crowd, they were potential leaders in their own right. Community members, artists, builders, and healers. They were a tapestry that could weave something beautiful, something lasting. As conversations picked up around him, he felt a profound stir in his heart. This was where real change began, right here, from the ground up. One voice, one act of kindness taking root. But then, suddenly, from the shadows beyond the alley, the familiar leather jacket appeared. The figure loomed menacingly, shoulders squared, fists clenched. "You think this changes anything?" he growled, eyes blazing through the gathering. But this time, the crowd held strong. Just as fear once ballooned, courage now pulsed through their veins. The millionaire stepped forward, undeterred. "What happened tonight was just a glimpse of what happens when we come together, when we stand for one another. You can choose to disrupt our community, or you can choose to join it." The alley felt electric, whispers of resolve bouncing around. The figure scoffed, but his bravado cracked slightly as he noticed that no one was shrinking back. The power they shared, fueled by genuine desire and hope, created ripples, inviting him to see what true connection looked like. The millionaire took a deep breath, his heart racing. "You have a choice. We can help one another, instead of tearing each other down. Think about the real strength that lies in unity, in empowerment." Jake glanced up at his dad, unyielding strength clear on his small face. "You can be part of the good," he chimed in, his sincerity cutting through the air. For a moment, the figure hesitated, calculating the tension in his mind. Would he choose fear and chaos, or could he find a way into the community they were forging? Then, carefully, as if unraveling a lifetime of ingrained habits, the jacketed figure took a step back. The anger flickered in his eyes, then faded, replaced by an inkling of uncertainty. "We'll see about that," he muttered, turning away, leaving the energy hanging heavy but transformed. As silence faded, a collective sigh of relief swept through the crowd. Hope had planted its roots deep in that moment. The millionaire felt the weight of everything lifting, and joy bloomed in his chest. Together, they rallied, sharing dreams, visions, and laughter, leaving behind a thread of light shining even in the darkest corners. They began forming plans and strategies, connecting roles that each could play to support each other. In the days that followed, they gathered around food trucks and parks, creating strong networks, sowing seeds of kindness and collaboration. The millionaire became a regular face in this community, his heart thrummed with purpose, embracing the deeper understanding of compassion and connection. Lily, her leg healing, found joy in helping alongside Jake, who started organizing food drives in their neighborhood. The two siblings radiated warmth across their community, reminding everyone of the power of love and determination. Through their journey, they showed that sometimes, all it takes is one moment of bravery to ignite change. The sound of laughter echoed throughout the streets, lifting spirits that once felt heavy, transforming the shared story of struggle into a tapestry woven with resilience and unity. Together, they proved that they were no longer just struggling individuals but a family, a community that refused to let despair win. And the millionaire? He learned to embrace life's imperfections, choosing to keep investing not just in resources, but in the very fabric of humanity that connect us all. Now is the time to act. You need to subscribe now to not miss these heartwarming stories that could inspire change and hope in your life. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and keep the good vibes rolling. Comment below your thoughts about the ending and how it touched you. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible transformation. Only true fans understand the importance of building this community together.